Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Melissa and I'm a nursing student. So I'm going to get right into today's video, and I promise it will be quick. I am in my final semester of nursing school, and in my opinion, one of the most important components of finishing up a nursing program, of course, is figuring out what you're going to do after you graduate and figuring out job placement. So in this video, I am just really quickly going to answer some frequently asked questions that I get and that I see online, just about applying to jobs and figuring out what the next step is. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the questions. There are not a lot of questions because I want to keep this video short, sweet, and to the point, but I did go ahead and write down all the questions on my phone just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first question that I have written down is, do I need to pass the NCLEX before I start working? And I can only speak to what I know. So I live in the United States, specifically in the state of Maryland. I live in the DC metropolitan area, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So I live in Maryland. And as far as I know for my area, the answer is yes. You do need to take and pass your NCLEX and become a registered nurse before you start working as a nurse. However, you do not need to take the NCLEX before you start applying to jobs for being a nurse or for being a registered nurse. So again, at least in my area, at least in the US, as far as I know, you can start applying to jobs, you can get accepted for a job and get a job offer, and you can accept a job offer all before you even take your NCLEX. But most places, as far as I know, they'll hire you contingent on you passing the NCLEX before you start working. So for example, it's not uncommon for someone to be in their final semester of nursing school to get a job offer and to accept a job offer in like April or May, and then the start date is not until like August or September. So it could be May. A nursing student could be finishing up their last couple weeks of school. They get offered a job and the job will start maybe August 1st. And it'll be with the stipulation before your first day of work, or maybe a week before your first day of work, you have to already have passed your NCLEX and have your nursing license. So that kind of enters into the second question that I wrote down, which is, when should I start applying to jobs as a nursing student? Everyone's different. My personal advice would be start applying to jobs in your final semester of nursing school, especially if you want to work in the hospital. As a new grad, you can work in different settings. I know school kind of just prepares us to work in the hospital, but in general, especially if you want to work in the hospital, you should start applying to jobs in your final semester of nursing school. Please do not wait until you graduate to start applying to jobs, because jobs at the hospital kind of start opening, I would say around, on average, maybe February, March, maybe some in April, but typically February, March is when jobs kind of start opening in the hospital. And you want to make sure that you are applying early, because what happens when you wait too late is jobs will open. They'll only be open for maybe a couple of weeks, if even that. They'll get a bunch of applications and then they'll close the job. So if you're waiting until after you graduate in May or June, yes, there will still be jobs available and job postings, but you would have already missed opportunities by not starting early. So I personally would advise right after winter break, however long your winter break is, right when you get back to school in your final semester of nursing school, even if it's in January, start looking online and seeing what jobs are posting. Just kind of casually start looking in January, and then maybe February or March, start kind of aggressively looking like every day and start applying to jobs actively. So the next question is, do I have to do a nurse residency as a new grad nurse? So essentially, does your first job outside of school have to be a nurse residency program? And no, it does not have to be a nurse residency program, but if you are going to the hospital, I personally would advise it. This is one of those things where it's different for everybody. It depends on what your goals are. If you know that you want to work in the hospital, I personally would advise a nurse residency program. A nurse residency program is, in my opinion, it's like hand-holding. So I will say this might be controversial in the healthcare community. I personally don't feel like a lot of nursing schools today prepare students to be nurses. I feel like it really prepares us to pass the NCLEX, which is important. You cannot become a registered nurse until you pass your boards, but I feel like school for the most part really prepares you to take the NCLEX, and I feel like nurse residency programs are a great way to prepare you to actually become a nurse. So it's a way for you to start as a nurse in kind of what, essentially a protected environment. Hopefully you find a good residency program in a good hospital with good mentors and good leadership. But the purpose of a residency program really is to hold your hand and to make sure that you are slowly, safely, and surely getting the skills that you need to be confident and successful up on the unit. I have a friend who is a nurse. She's an amazing nurse, but when she first started nursing, like once she graduated from school, I believe she went straight into a new job without a residency program, so there was no hand-holding, and they just kind of expected her to know everything. And again, I feel like nursing school it's not really set up to teach us the skills that we need in the hospital. It's more so geared toward passing the NCLEX. So she kind of was thrown into the fire, and it was not a good situation. She's learned from it. Now she's an incredible nurse, but it was really hard for her because she didn't have that hand-holding, and because she got into the hospital and they just expected her to kind of know everything and to go full speed. And so I feel like a nurse residency is kind of like teaching you the basics, the fundamentals, and kind of slowly acclimating you to the nursing profession. So the next question, what should I look for in a nurse residency program? So I feel like this one just kind of also is at your discretion. It depends on what you personally are looking for. But I feel like one important thing is to see how long the nurse residency program is. I think a lot of programs are anywhere from 6 months to a full year. See what a nurse residency program, or when you're applying to jobs, see what those residency programs are offering. Are you going to have a preceptor that's one-on-one, or is your preceptor going to have a group of new nurses? Are there classes that are available during the residency program? So aside from you just having a nurse that you work with on the floor, do they also offer support off of the floor? Do they have somebody that's checking in on you to see how you're doing on a regular basis? See what the expectations for success are. Are they going to be kind of analyzing your success or doing an evaluation of your success every month, every 6 months? Are they only going to do it at the end of the residency program? Just kind of ask all of those questions. You want to get as much information as possible before you enter into a residency program. You don't want to enter a situation where a hospital says that they have a residency program, and then when you ask them, in what ways do you support your new nurses, they cannot answer you. You want them to say that they offer educational experiences for the new nurses, that they will give you a preceptor or a mentor, that maybe every so often, whether it's every month, every couple of months, they will be giving you evaluation on your performance so that you can know how you're doing. You don't want a situation where you are in a nurse residency for a year, that entire year no one is evaluating your performance, and then once you get 6 months into the program or even a year into the program, you find out that you were not successful by the hospital's standards and nobody told you that whole time. Another question, do I have to start at the hospital? So I see this online a lot. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that you don't have to start at the hospital. I hear a lot of people also saying even if they don't want to work in the hospital, they feel like they need to work at the bedside for at least 1 to 2 years before they go off and do whatever they actually want to do. You do not have to work at the hospital. You can become a registered nurse and never step foot in the hospital as a nurse. You don't have to do it. So the answer is no. You do not have to work in the hospital as a new grad nurse. You can graduate nursing school, pass your boards, and go directly to an outpatient center or to an outpatient clinic like an urgent care. You can do private practice, so you can work in a doctor's office. You can be a community liaison or a community health nurse and work in kind of like a nonprofit behind a desk doing office work or interacting with people. You can do home health. All of these things, you can go directly into them without even stepping foot in the hospital. So no, but for certain jobs, they may want a certain level of experience. So depending on the job that you ultimately want, it may make sense for you to go to the hospital first, or to do some type of direct hands-on patient care before you do other things. And for other jobs, you don't have to do that, especially those of you that went back to school. If you have a previous degree and previous healthcare experience, me, for example, I have a degree in healthcare administration. I have healthcare administration experience. So if I wanted to graduate and be like a community health nurse without seeing the hospital, I do have the experience to do that. So it just depends on like your background, your goals, what you want for the future. But absolutely, you do not have to go to the hospital if you do not want to go to the hospital as a new grad nurse. This question I get asked a lot. Where do you find jobs, essentially? So where do you find nursing jobs? So you can find nursing jobs anywhere. You can go to Indeed.com. This video is not sponsored, but Indeed is a really good website. You create an account, you can filter it based on, of course, what degree you have or what degree you're going to get, what jobs you're looking for, like what setting, if you want to go to the hospital, if you want to go to a nursing home, a rehab center, whatever. You can make an entire profile and filter it out so that Indeed will send you job alerts every single day or every single week based on jobs that you want and jobs that you are qualified for. So Indeed is a really good website. LinkedIn is actually a good website. I've actually gotten jobs in the past on LinkedIn. So employers do post jobs on LinkedIn. I think monster.com is a good one. Pretty much anywhere that you would go to look for any other type of job, you can go on those websites and look for a job in healthcare and look for nursing jobs. One thing that I really like to do when applying jobs, especially in healthcare, is if there is a hospital or any type of setting that you know that you want to work at, if there's an organization you know you want to work for, go to that company's website or go to that hospital's website, click on careers or jobs, and periodically look at the different jobs that they have available. So I know that some websites and some companies, you can actually create an account and get job alerts. So the second that they post a new job, you can get an email or a text message. With a lot of other companies, you just have to be checking every day. If there is a hospital you know you really want to work at and a position you really want, I would advise you literally every single day to just go on that company's website, look at their jobs, and kind of stalk when the job is posted. That's a great way to make sure that you are one of the first people applying to that job. So the final question that I have been getting asked quite a bit, because people will email me asking for advice, is what specialty should I apply to? And my advice or my answer is whatever specialty you want. I'm a firm believer that if there's a specialty that you want to go into, you should just apply for that. I know with med-surg, a lot of nursing students and a lot of new grads seem to not want to go to med-surg, or if they're thinking about applying to med-surg, a lot of the time the passion isn't there. It's just they were told that they have to do med-surg before they branch out into whatever specialty they really want to do, or they were told they need to go to med-surg first to get the fundamentals. If that is your attitude on med-surg, or if you really for whatever reason do not want to go to med-surg, my advice is don't apply to med-surg if you know you don't want to work there. Whatever specialty you want, if you know that it's a hard specialty to get into for new grads, my advice would be maybe pick one or two backup specialties in addition to the specialty that you really want. So let's say that your heart is really in the NICU. Great, apply to NICU, but then also pick maybe another one or two specialties. Maybe you like the ICU, maybe you like the ER. So those are three specialties right there. In my example, if you really love NICU, but you would also like to work in the ICU or the ER, only apply to those three specialties. That way, you're not applying to specialties that you don't want to do, and you're not limiting yourself with job opportunities. What is not good is if there's only one specialty that you want to do, and you only apply to that specialty, and you keep applying different places, you don't get in. Next thing you know, you're getting closer and closer to the summer, and less jobs are available, and then you're kind of just stuck with whatever you can get. The thing about nursing, especially with the nationwide bedside shortage, as long as you have a good attitude, you will always be able to find a job in nursing. That's one of the things that attracted me to the profession. You'll always have a way to make money. You'll always have a way to feed your family. The only thing is you may not always get your first pick of the specialty that you want or the unit that you want or the hospital that you work in, but you will always be able to find something. So in my opinion, it's always a good idea to have a backup plan. And hey, maybe if you don't get the job that you want, the specialty that you want, the hospital that you want this time, it can open doors and you can work somewhere else that's also awesome. Or you can work somewhere else and build your resume so the next time you're looking for jobs, you can go back and apply to your first choice. So my final thought on that note is, do not panic. Do not be anxious. You will find a job. Again, it may not be your first choice, but you will find a job. You will be able to make money. You will be able to support yourself and your family, and your degree will pay off, I promise you. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below. As always, you can shoot me an email. My email's in the description box below. If you have something more personal that you want to ask me, I am behind on my emails, but I do try to go in there and answer at least once a week, so please bear with me. Sometimes it's every other week, but hey. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.